Alice. In this video I will talk about some inversions of arpeggios, and which comes from the chords. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about one of the basic the fundamental systems or fundamental tools used in traditional jazz anyway, which is the 2-5-1 movement of the chords. And in this video we are in the key of D, which means that we are using the second step in the key of D, which is a minor step, and then we're using the fifth step, also called the dominant step, which is a major with a lowered seventh, and then we go back into the root, which is then the D major 7, and they're all 4-note chords, or 4-note arpeggios, which means that they are using the root, third, the fifth, and the seventh of the chord, and we're going to use that in the arpeggios, which is not especially a typical thing, especially not in metal and in shred. But I really think that adds a lot to the sound and makes the sound a little more interesting than the typical triads. I still love the triads, but in this video I want to get a little more into the 4-note chords. And the other thing, because I know that I've been talking about this before, but the other thing is I'm using 2 inversions. There are 4 inversions of a 4-note chord, which is the one that starts with the root, the third, fifth, and seventh, and the next one will just be starting with the third, the fifth, seventh, and the root, and then so on and so forth. But what's interesting about this is that is the basic theory, but on the guitar, because the guitar is the structure of the guitar is just so weird, so we don't necessarily do it exactly that way per se. On the piano it makes a lot of sense to follow that recipe perfectly, but on the guitar, just because the way that it's tuned and stuff like that, it just not necessarily is that way that you would do it. So then you also fit it so that the fingering makes sense as well. And I'm sure that you probably already know this concept a little bit, because that's actually what you're doing when you're playing the triads. If you are really into the triad sweep picking arpeggios, because here we also have 3 inversions of the minor and the major. But here in the 4 notes we have obviously 4, because the last will then start with the 7th, then we get the root note, the 3rd, the 5th. But in this one I'm gonna use 2 inversions of the major 7, which in the 2-5-1 movement will be the last one. And you can also hear that it really adds a lot. And then I also have a technical approach to it, because then I add some slides and some extra hammer-ons in the second inversion. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this concept. So what's cool about this 2-5-1 in a more contemporary rock approach to playing, which arrives from kind of a basic jazz idea, is that we can use several arpeggios in one key over one chord actually, and sort of superimpose this sound without goofing off, because we're still just using the notes from the same key. Let me give you an example. In the key we get the D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and then C sharp. So we have all these 7 notes that we can just throw around in any manner that we like, theoretically. That I have to say that, because they don't all necessarily sound equally good. In many cases you want to land or end a phrase on a root or on a chord note, but that's a different story. Here we're just going to talk about what we can do with all these different arpeggios, because we have 7 steps. The first one is the major, the second is the minor, third is a minor, fourth is a major, and fifth is a major, sixth is a minor, and then the 7th is a minor, or actually a diminished triad. So we can use, theoretically, we can use all these arpeggios in one key and over one chord basically, and kind of superimpose that idea in here. So that means that these 3 arpeggios where the last one we play in 2 inversions, we can play all that good stuff over 1 chord. So this is something that you can use in improvising in any situation, and I feel also in any kind of music. Maybe if you play traditional thrash or something really hard metal like death metal, maybe it doesn't sound good, but you'll be the judge of that. But anyway, I'm just going to show you theoretically and technically how we can use this. So when we play the E minor 7 over the D chord, we get the notes E, G, B, and D. And just to be quick, I've written it down. And then when we play the dominant to the D, which in this case is the A7, we play the notes A, C sharp, E, and G. When we play the final one, which is also the root or the first step, then we get the D, F sharp, A, and C sharp. And these notes all pertain to the D major scale. Now let's get a little more into the technical approach. I want to get specifically into the D major 7, which is kind of a weirdo. It's a little weird to play, but it sounds amazing, I think. And that's the one that I play in 2 inversions. So this is the first one that I play, the D major 7. Let me just get started here in the first one. I start here on the 10th fret on the low E string with my index finger, and then I play 1 downstroke, and I immediately after that I hammer on with my little finger to the 14th fret. Then I move into the A string with my long finger, and I use a sweep picking technique for this one. Even though I do add a few extra notes in this one than in the regular triad arpeggio. Then I move after the A string, 12th fret, I move into the D string with my index finger, 11th fret, and hammer on to the 12th fret. After that I move into the G string with my index finger, 11th fret, and I hammer on with my ring finger. Kind of a weird fingering, but it really makes sense, I think. I hammer onto the 14th fret with my ring finger and bar that up into the B string 14th fret, and then into the high E string with my index finger 10th fret, and then the little finger on the 14th fret. Putting off back again, and then playing the opposite here with the ring finger, rolling over the 14th fret B and G string. Once I reach the G string with the ring finger, I pull off to the index finger and into the D string with my long finger, pulling off from 12 to 11, and then into the A string with the long finger and little finger on the 14th fret. So you can see there's a few spots, the low E string, the D string, the G string, and the high E string. All those strings we play 2 notes, which means that on the ascending part we are hammering on the descending we will be pulling off. But this also means that we gotta sort of fit a few extra notes in there along the way. So in my opinion and in my experience when I've been practicing these arpeggios is that you really have to work a lot on the picking action to make everything fit together, because it's sort of a unequal amount of work for right and left hand, because the picking hand is so simple, but the fretting hand has so much work to do. So you really need to work on the synchronization between right and left hand in this one. And this is again one of those techniques where the metronome definitely comes in handy. I've used the metronome a lot for this one, and I still need to work on these ones to get them up to speed. Anyway, once we played the first one, you can see I actually repeat the 14th fret here. So after playing with an upstroke here on the 14th fret with my little finger, I move into the index finger on the 14th fret. You have to be a little quick here. So anyway, once I reached the 14th fret with my index finger, I hammer on with my ring finger here to the 17th fret on the low E string. And then I move into the A string where I play 2 notes. So I use my long finger on the 16th fret A string and hammer on with my ring finger to the 17th. And again, just to go back to the theoretical part, the first one I started with my index finger on the root note, so the next inversion starts on the 3rd. So that makes perfect theoretical sense to what I actually discussed before, or what we discussed before, as opposed to some of the triads. Anyway, after hammering onto the 17th here with my ring finger on the A string, I use my long finger again for the next string, where I play 1 note, the 16th fret, and then I go into the G string where I play 2 notes. I use my index finger on the 14th fret, and I hammer on with my little finger to the 18th fret. And on the next string, the B string, I only play 1 note also, 15th fret. And then finally here on the high E string, I play a few notes here. I start on the 14th fret with my index finger, and I hammer on with my long finger to the 17th and my little finger to the 21st fret. And from here I slide into the 22nd and back again to the 21st, pulling off again to the 17th and to the 14th. Then I go back with my long finger to the 15th fret B string and into the G string, and into the G string 18th fret, pulling off to 14th, and then into the D string with my long finger 16th fret, and into the A string with my ring finger, pulling off from the ring finger to the long finger 17th to the 16th, and then finally here on the low E string I use my ring finger again, 17th fret, and then index finger on the 14th, sliding down to the root note. So that arpeggio comes to now, since we're using the second, 5th, and 1st step of this key, you have to use if you want to play the complete thing, you have to start from the 2nd step of whatever key you are in. So that means if you change the key to the A, for example, to the key of A, you would be starting the row of arpeggios from B, then getting a B minor, E7, and then back again to the A major 7. This is the way that you can incorporate it into your own playing. This also means that as seen from the scales, from a scale point of view, this means also that you started from the 2nd step, the 2nd scale step. So if we're here in the 1st step in D, I move into the 2nd, ending in the 1st. So I'm Niels Vejlid, and remember to check and click the link below the video if you want to get all the tablature plus some additional info on the lesson. And remember to subscribe to get all the new videos that I'll send, also to get the free program on my website, the secrets of shredguitar.com, where I give you a free program. Still have to subscribe though to get the program, and also subscribe here to the YouTube channel if you just want to check up and see all my new free lessons. See you.